everyone, welcome to I guess part 2 of our Halloween festivities. Halloween is here and it may be different for people this year due to world events, but that still doesn't mean we can't celebrate it in different ways. That is why I still did Halloween videos this month. Anyways, today we're going to be looking at 3 lost films. All of these films have one thing in common, and that is that they all feature the same character, Dracula. Yes, Dracula, you know, I want to suck your blood, blah blah blah.
I don't say blah blah blah.
Alright, whatever, sorry. Anyways, what is there to say about Dracula? Well, Dracula was originally a book published in 1897 and written by Bram Stoker. However, the iconic look and sound of the character didn't come to be until 1931 with Universal's Dracula.
Listen to them, children of the night. What music they make.
The plot of Dracula is as followed. A man named Renfield, played by Dwight Frye, has to go to Dracula's castle to finalize the transferal of the Carfax Abbey in London. Once he is at the castle, Dracula, played by Hungarian actor Bela Lugosi, hypnotizes him and makes him his slave. Together they board the ship to London, where Dracula feeds on the ship's crew. Once the ship stops in London, Renfield is discovered to be the only living person left on board, so he is locked up in Dr. Seward's sanatorium. After this, Dracula meets Dr. Seward, played by Herbert Bunsen. Seward then introduces Dracula to his daughter Mina, played by Helen Chandler, his daughter's fiance John Harker, played by David Manners, and a family friend named Lucy Weston, played by Frances Dade. Lucy takes an interest in Dracula, which leads Dracula to suck her blood that causes her to die the next day after a series of transfusions. After that, Dracula's interest turned to Mina, who he bites as well, but she survives. The next day, Seward's noticing his daughter's declining health brings them the help of Dr. Van Helsing, played by Edward Van Sloan. This is when they notice that Dracula doesn't have a reflection, which leads to the conclusion that he is a vampire and the cause of Mina's bite and declining health. Later on at night, and armed with this information, Van Helsing finds Dracula sleeping in his coffin and sticks a stake through his heart, killing him, which restores Mina's health and saves her life. Speaking of killing Dracula, our first piece of lost media is an Hungarian silent film from 1921, simply titled Dracula's Death. Dracula's Death not only predates the 1931 Universal classic, but it even predates Nosferatu by a year. It is about a woman named Mary Land, played by Lene Mill, who has frightening visions after seeing an inmate in an insane asylum who claims to be Dracula. She cannot tell if these visions were fake or real, however she is later kidnapped by Dracula and is forced to marry him in a satanic-esque wedding. This appears to be all that is known about the film. There is an IMDb page for this film which has a basic plot and a cast list, which shows that Dracula is played by a man named Paul Ascones. There is also a Wikipedia page which has a poster for the film, which has what I am assuming is the film's Hungarian name, Dracula Halala. I probably pronounced that wrong. The Wikipedia page also shows that the film was directed by an Hungarian director named, and I hope I don't butcher this, Karoly Lachthey. Aside from that, all that exists of this film are 3 still images, one of which is Dracula himself, who looks pretty creepy. In fact, the 3 stills show that this film looks downright terrifying for a silent film. In terms of whether or not this film will be found one day, it is hard to tell due to the fact that this film was about 100 years old, meaning the likelihood of a film reel still being intact isn't likely. Then again, there are stills of this film, so there has to be a print somewhere, I guess, so it's possible but unlikely. This film does sound interesting though. Our next 2 films, although both different films that have nothing to do with each other, have to deal with Dracula and Batman in some way. The first of the 2 is a 1964 Andy Warhol film titled Batman Dracula. Batman Dracula, although it came out in the 60s, was a silent black and white film. There isn't much known about the film, but I think it is supposed to be about Batman also being Dracula or something along those lines. There really isn't a whole lot about it. There is some footage of it out there though, as clips of it were shown in the documentary Jack Smith and the Destruction of Atlantis, which is a documentary about a revolutionary artist named Jack Smith, a man who collaborated with Andy Warhol. Since then, some clips have also risen on YouTube. The clips altogether show around 40% or so of the film, and the rest is still lost. The likelihood of this being brought to the public in full is possible, as clearly cuts of it exist and almost half of it is available online. but it won't be easy as Andy didn't have permission from DC to make this film, so there's probably some copyright issues there. But if someone finds a VHS rip of this film or something, then it will probably be found at some point. Anyways, our last film came out in 1967 and is a Filipino film titled Batman vs. Dracula. Batman vs. Dracula was a parody film directed by Leody M. Diaz and written by Bert R. Mendoza. The film stars Jean Abalas and Dante Riviero as the two main characters. The film is about a scientist named Dr. Zorba. Dr. Zorba, who is sick of constantly being defeated by Batman, comes up with a way to resurrect Count Dracula and control him, as well as make him almost invincible. Batman, along with his sidekick Ruben, and no, that is not a typo, his sidekick is called Ruben in this one and not Robin, and a beautiful woman named Marita track down Dr. Zorba at his underground fortress where they kill him by somehow turning Dracula against him. In terms of availability, there was nothing for the longest time, but a blog post titled Pelicula ATAP was found, which contains the plot as well as a couple posters and several photos of the movie. The style of this movie reminds me of the 1940 Batman serials, but more creepier and looks like it would be a so bad it's good type of movie. It looks silly.
Hey guys, Post-Production Brad here. We got a little update regarding Batman Fights Dracula that I want to talk about, so I have to add it into this video right now. And quickly, because I am on a time crunch to get this video out that you see behind me, which is the one that you're watching right now. Anyways, so the update about Batman Fights Dracula is that a YouTuber that's well known in the Lost Media community, whose name is L Supersonic Q, about a week ago he did a video on this very film, and actually did a live stream tonight, October 29th, 2020, where he put out an update regarding it, showing that it turns out there's actually a pretty big hunt for this. Actually, it's been a pretty big hunt for the last few years now. I'm going to quickly explain that. Apparently, there have been a lot of subreddits and things like that, and through my research, I confirmed that is true, of people talking about this film, mostly in the Philippines, but it turned out there is a bit of a search. In fact, there's one guy who has contacted a lot of people who have worked on this film and who work in the Filipino film industry and stuff like that to try and find this film. Apparently, it's one of like the crown jewels of lost Asian media, and it's super sought after, apparently. So originally I said that this probably won't be found, but now because of this update I was able to do the proper research, and I think there's a fairly solid chance at least some of this will be found one day. Obviously, it's not 100%. I mean, a good portion of the people in this movie are passed away at this point, from what I remember, so there's only so many people that you can contact about this movie still. But yeah, so it turns out that I think this could be found, thanks to the information from L Supersonic Q. So yeah, back to the video.
With that said, I guess that is where this video ends. The history of Lost Dracula films is interesting, and I might return to it one day as I didn't talk about all of it. However, next Halloween, I think I'm gonna look at some Lost Frankenstein films and lost scenes from Frankenstein movies, so look for that next year. For now, just subscribe and ring the bell for more awesome videos like this one, and comment suggestions for videos down below as I always take suggestions. As for what's next, well, I showed the video when I first rebranded. I think it's about time I finished it. See y'all in November. Take care.